Alright, ladies and gentlemen, between my hands lies a book titled Sell It Like Serhant by, you guessed it, Ryan Serhant. Boom! Here's the book. Enjoy it. Beautiful cover. His face. Love the watch. If you're not a watch person, then you probably don't care, but I love the watch. And he wrote a book about selling. I read it, and I'm going to give you a review on it. Alright, so let's get this book review on the way. Quick disclaimer though. This is my first time ever doing a book review. I do not even know what I'm going to say. There's no structure to this video. I am simply going to blare out the first thing that comes to my mind that is associated with this book. And if it makes sense, then I'll post a video. If it makes zero sense, then I'm going to delete it and not waste your time. So if you're watching this, that means I've said something worth listening to. So please stick around and hear me out. Okay? So first, let me introduce the author if you do not know him. His name is Ryan Serhant. He's a star on $1 Million Listing. He's a real estate agent in New York City, and he is, I would say, definitely in the top 10 of all realtors when it comes to production, if not top 5. And when you consider there's millions of realtors out there, and he's in the top 5, top 10, then he's definitely a credible resource and somebody you want to listen to and model after if you're in sales, and specifically if you're a real estate agent like myself. So, since I am, and he wrote a book about his entire career, you better believe I'm going to buy this book and I'm going to read it. Okay, so let's get into the actual book. If you have seen any of his interviews with Ryan, you'll know that he's a very energetic, enthusiastic guy, right? And that really comes across in the book. The way he speaks is the way he wrote the book. So it's extremely entertaining and fun to read. And I had a blast reading it. Like, there's not a dull moment at any point during the book, right? So you're gonna have a lot of fun reading it. That's number one. You should read it for that reason alone. Number two, he ties everything in with a story, right? So he'll give you a lesson, like a sale, I guess, advice or a lesson, and then he will tie that into a story which he applied the lesson or he learned the lesson, right? Or sometimes he'll do both. I learned a lesson here, and then I was able to apply it to this deal, and here's the outcome, right? And here's what happened here. And that's awesome to see. As a realtor, just hearing about the real estate transactions of a high-producing agent is of its own worth reading the book. But the fact that he ties it in with experiences that didn't work out and then took the lessons from there and applied it to the stories that did work out, it's going to give you a lot of context to work with, right? And if you are also a realtor, this is going to be a great book for you, because sometimes the way the real estate agent career is sold is that you're going to make a lot of money, which you definitely can. But a lot of agents come into the business thinking they're about to make, $500,000 their first year, $1 million their second year, etc., and live this lavish life. They show up, they realize it's harder than it is, and they make $10 all year and they quit, right? And this book, Ryan actually is very vulnerable, and he'll explain in the first 3 years he didn't make any money, and how hard he worked, his insecurities, all the problems he had, the fact that he lacked confidence at the time, he had no money, things like that. So he really dives into his story and how he developed over time. So if you're an agent and you're like in your second year and you're thinking about quitting because this isn't working out, this book will be very helpful for you, because the man didn't make any money for 3 years, and all of a sudden he's in the top 5, top 10 of all realtors. I would say in the world, if I'm being honest, because he sells, I think, over $1 billion a year, and that's huge, right? And if you're not a realtor and you're wondering why should I read a book written by a realtor, I understand you, but I still recommend it because, number one, it's a fun read. You get to see a story of somebody starting from nothing and going to, being one of the best brokers in the world, number two. And number three, because he applies all the lessons to a real life transaction, you can then do the same thing. So when he teaches the lesson, which is a broad, actually I wouldn't say broad, it's a general sales advice, sales lesson, or mistake, etc. And he applies it to his business. But there's nothing stopping you from applying it to your business. So if you sell socks, I don't know, apply it to your sock selling business. I don't know. But figure it out. And definitely read the book. I loved it. And I guess I should give it like a numerical number, right? For I don't know, for review purposes. That's how you review books. I don't really know how this works. I'm going to give it a 1 to 10. And I'm an extremely generous guy. So I want to say 10 out of 10. But I feel like nothing's perfect. Just to be that guy, I'm gonna say it's a 9 out of 10. So it's a definitely want to read this book kind of book. I think the only book I've ever read that I would give a solid 10 out of 10 is the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, aka my Bible. I call that my life Bible. If you read that book, you'll be happy. I guess maybe I could do a review on that later. But yeah, Ryan Serhant, sell like Serhant, get the book, read it, apply everything you learn, and you'll make a lot of money and you'll be happy.